Because Whigs value differences of opinion and independent thought, we do not necessarily take a position on every particular issue which may be fashionable for the moment. Rather, we propose a program of broad reforms, bold policies and sensible restraint we believe will strengthen our country as it faces the challenges of the 21st century. Our purpose is to chart a path to a government which truly does, as the preamble to the Constitution says, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. As always, the policies we advocate are in line with our core values of integrity, meritocracy and independent thinking. At the very heart of our endeavor is a firm embrace of the clearest and highest ethical standard. We start with an unshakable commitment to an ethical public life, and we draw the inspiration for our core beliefs from the United States Military Academy Cadet Honor Code. A Whig will not lie, cheat, steal or tolerate those who do. Whig elected officials and candidates for office who violate this simple code will be publicly disowned by the party. It is that simple. In addition, as Whigs we are committed to a pragmatic, meritocratic, fact-based approach to problem-solving which is neither clouded by rigid ideological dogma, nor corrupted by the influence of money. With that, here are some of our positions on several of the key issues of the day. Political modernization. Electoral reform lies at the heart of modern Whig methodology. We believe all citizens have an equal right to be represented in the democratic process and an equivalent duty to participate in it. We oppose all attempts to limit participation or distort representation. Our current political system unduly restricts political competition and undermines the average citizen's ability to properly exercise their political rights and duties. Modern Whigs support the implementation of approval voting for all state and federal elections, a runoff election between the two top vote getters in presidential elections if no candidate wins a majority of the national vote. The adoption of the American Anti-Corruption Act is proposed by the non-governmental organization Representis. Ratification of a Right to Vote Amendment. Redistricting reform, including the establishment of nonpartisan citizens committees, to end the practice of gerrymandering. A ban on elected officials working as lobbyists for 5 years after leaving office, and a similar ban on government employees doing business with their former colleagues after leaving for the private sector, making Election Day a national holiday. Economy. Americans must face the fact that manufacturing, the engine of our economy for much of the 20th century, can simply no longer generate the job growth our country needs. Globalization, automation, the information revolution and intense competition from rising powers such as China and India are the new reality. Nor can consumer spending alone drive growth in today's global knowledge-based economy. An economic model relying on people spending money they do not have to buy things they do not really need is a house of cards which will inevitably collapse under a growing mountain of debt. Whigs also do not subscribe to failed models of statist wealth redistribution. What our nation needs is a new economic model based on innovation and entrepreneurship. The modern Whig Party proposes greater emphasis on an investment in our system of public education so the creative potential of every young person is realized, generous grants and contracts to universities and corporations to support scientific research and development, maintenance of a sound safety net to promote entrepreneurial risk-taking and direct investment by the general public in the commercialization of new ideas and discoveries through professionally managed public venture funds, with the profits returned to ordinary citizens as a direct social innovation dividend. Education. In an era of unprecedented globalization, American economic competitiveness is dependent on the quality of our schools, colleges and universities. Strength of our civil society and vibrancy of our democracy depend on a well-educated, well-rounded citizenry. Sadly, as is well documented in the comparative performance of our students on international tests, our public K-12 schools are currently not up to the task. In too many inner cities and rural areas, learning conditions are appalling. Even in many prosperous suburbs, the quality of education is not what we believe it should be. We can ill afford to let other countries take the lead in science, technology, engineering and math while our public schools languish in mediocrity. While charter schools may offer a temporary solution for some of the students currently trapped in low-performing public schools, it is a moral imperative that our public schools be fixed. Whigs believe academic rigor should be the supreme value in our schools. Getting into a teacher's college should be a highly selective process and the training should be first class. Teacher pay should be based on merit, not seniority. High performers should be rewarded, low performers given additional training, and those who continue to underperform despite the extra training should be let go and steered toward other careers. Schools should move away from the late 19th century factory model on which they were initially based, and instead should resemble science labs. Teachers should act as mentors who help students discover what they excel at. High schools and colleges should teach entrepreneurial skills and foster collaborative teamwork through interdisciplinary projects. Learning should be customized to take into account the strengths and weaknesses of each student. Testing should be less frequent, more consequential, and emphasize